Booyakasha. It is the old guys. What? Hold on a second here. If you're listening to this on podcast, you don't see unranked tournament player at RPS. Uncle T. What's up, Uncle T? No JT tonight. Hold on, Uncle T, or stopping by. If any of the coordinators are watching, you want to hop on, we can do that. Doesn't matter what age. Unranked tournament player at RPS, huh?
I mean, you know, we can't all be Holden as the #1 muff diver at RPS. And
it's not just RPS, buddy. I would say in the DFS and betting industry.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just got off the NBA show, did a great job there up the lock, a huge NBA slate tonight. You and I got a, kind of nice early season Kansas-Kentucky game here at 9:30 coming up that I'm definitely not really looking forward to from the standpoint of I think Kansas is pretty good this year, obviously. And definitely worried about the post play from my Cats here early on in the season. They got 3 7-footers, 21 feet of centers sitting next to Coach Cal in street clothes tonight. So, Holden, I think you guys might clip us tonight, but still a nice game. You know, you got Duke and Michigan State going right now. So, yeah, little NBA, little college basketball season. We'll talk some NFL. You know, I'm still grinding the golf. We got one more golf tournament this week, and that will end the regular season, if you will, that wraps around. And, that'll get a little bit quiet for the next month and a half until they go to Hawaii at the beginning of January. So, yeah, a lot going on right now, Holden.
There is a lot going on. I mean, it's NFL season, so there's always something going on. What's up, Kevin Gallagher? Good to see you in here. Do a little roll call if you want to. It's just me and Uncle T. You know, no JT tonight. Did we get a reason why he's not hopping on the show?
Yeah, we actually didn't, Holden, to be quite honest. You and I got a little message, about 15 minutes ago, said he's unfortunately not able to make it. But
I've got a guess.
Yeah, let's throw us the chat. We don't know who. We know Kevin's watching. So other than Kevin, like what would the excuses be for JT to not make the Old Guys podcast week? What are we in, week 11, I guess?
Yeah, I think because his dick got caught in Winnie the Pooh. And then his dog tried to bite it off. And there was a massive injury that went down, Uncle T. That's my guess as to what happened to JT.
That definitely could be. What's up? The Breakfast Files. All right.
Yeah. So are you with me that ultimately it had to do with a sexcapade with a stuffy and then his dog trying to bite it off? Or do you think something else happened?
Yeah, I don't know. JT's one of those guys that once you think you kind of got him figured out on what he does outside of his RPS stuff, then you kind of question yourself because I don't know. JT kind of flies under the radar a little bit, I don't know.
It's something's fishy is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, for sure.
Something's definitely fishy about tonight because it was a late scratch for him. But that's my theory. That is absolutely. I don't think he went into rehab. He doesn't need rehab, Kevin.
No, I mean, him and I didn't have any kind of on air last week. I know we kind of go back and forth a lot. Did I beat him on any kind of heads up bet or
no?
Well, you said no pretty quick. What do you mean no?
Because I just don't even think you guys had a bet last week.
We probably didn't. I know my Bengals let me down. We can talk about that a little bit too. They, I don't know. They, I knew Sam Hubbard being out and not being able to rush the edge. The other opposite side, obviously, of Hendrickson. I did worry about that just a little bit, and I know C.J. Stroud's really good, obviously. And like I said, just to put a cap on, because I know Snyder's going to watch his show either live or tomorrow. For the record, him and I went back and forth in a fun way. I think JT kind of started up on Twitter. I never said, and I even said on this show, I wouldn't be surprised if Houston beat Cincinnati. My big thing on Snyder's comment, Snyder knows what he's talking. Snyder follows this stuff like we do. I was just giving him a hard time. I was just saying they weren't going to lose because they were looking ahead at the Ravens game. If they lost, they were going to lose because Houston beat them and they were the better team, which ended up happening. Houston outplayed Cincinnati. Honestly, if they wouldn't have kicked that last second field goal and the Bengals would have come out of there, the Texans would have had to be really upset with how that ended because the interception by Stroud with 3:40 to go, up 10, you can't make that throw if you're CJ Stroud. So as many good things as Stroud has been and will be, that's definitely a play that he cannot make going forward. Yeah, Snyder's in the chat. Snyder, hop on with us we're only going to go probably 45 minutes or
I
an hour.
lost my ass on that game, by the way, because I was like, I was going to bet it pregame. I did have the Tank Dell stuff and the parlay and stuff that, one of them hit, but I bet that thing live. I'm like, the Bengals are coming back and winning this game.
Speaking of betting live, Holden,
yeah,
not to cut you off, that Buffalo game last night hurt me in so many ways.
Oh, I loved it.
Woo, that hurt.
Yeah, imagine back in Buffalo there.
I mean, what do you think about Allen? Obviously, they fired the offensive coordinator today. Yeah, they had to do something to shake things up, but wow, they just have. Yeah, I mean, Allen's just turning the ball. We've talked about it numerous times on this show, all year long. Like, he's turning the ball over just way, way too much. And last night, you can't turn the ball over 3 times against a team that's been playing a lot better football. So give Denver credit.
All right, before we get into the football part of the show, though, I was thinking about our game today with Kansas and Kentucky, right? And then I came up with a topic here: places I'd live in, places I wouldn't live in America for I would have to live in Kentucky. So worse places to live than Kentucky. Okay, Uncle T. Now, you love Kentucky. You love that place, right? You think it's amazing.
I never said that.
You don't love it, do you?
I mean, I like living here.
Mississippi. Have you been to Mississippi?
Is that MISSISI?
SSIPPI. Worse, that place is horrible. I don't ever want to go there. Louisiana, sinking into the Gulf. No, New Orleans is garbage. It smells like piss. It's the worst place besides for Vegas.
I mean, how about Colorado? I mean, it's probably got to be fairly awful.
I would say Eastern Colorado is probably on par with Kentucky. But once you get to Denver, you're set. Like, it's beautiful out here. And then the other place I would say is New Mexico. So those are the places, and really it was a horrible topic. So I did want to also bring up that Tony says you don't know how to use SaberSim. Is that true?
Everybody that watches this podcast or the thousands of shows that Tony does, you guys got to know that he stirs the pot and instigates everything, especially with Uncle T. So you guys got to be a little bit more veteran-like. And when you hear shit like that, you got to understand where it's coming from. He just likes to give me shit. Now, the reason I don't,
you did not know how to use the chat, how to use the chat during the show. So how am I supposed to believe you use SaberSim?
Now you're acting like you're going to try to jump on his side, and he's not even in stroking, but he's not even on the show.
I'm not stroking.
But the main reason I don't use projection, I look at projections, especially in baseball. I only have, like, for NBA, I like to play one NBA team, and I'm not a big NBA player. Don't play much college basketball. Don't play college football much. Everybody knows I kind of follow golf, baseball, and football. So those sports, I will look at the projections. I'll look at the sim stuff. But I'm only hand building 3 to 5 teams generally at night. Baseball, I'll usually play a little more. Sunday football, I'll play 6 to 8 teams. So for me, yes, I'll look at it, but no, I'm not going to go in there. I don't play 150, so I don't play 50. So that comment, he was taking a shot at Uncle T. And I actually bought his ass lunch the first 2 days this week. Yesterday and today, I bought his ass lunch. And well, we had Arby's today, and it was not very good. Yesterday, we had La Rosa's yesterday. Today, we had Arby's. It wasn't my choice today either. I put 5 restaurants in our little group chat thing, and that's what they picked up, Arby's. It was terrible.
So people actually willingly chose Arby's. What were the other 4 choices? Because I cannot imagine eating that.
Well, no, where we go in, like, there's like areas where there's obviously a handful of restaurants. Okay. So I was getting some errands run in a certain area today. So we had, what did we have? We had Guthrie's chicken. We had a pizza place, obviously, because I got to at least have one pizza place. We had Wendy's, Arby's, and then Chick-fil-A.
What a horrible list. Chick-fil-A, at least I can eat a grilled chicken sandwich, but the rest of those Chick-fil-A? Awful. Not really. I mean, I used to like it when I was a kid. Now it's just not that great. I never rarely eat fast food anyways.
You've never had Guthrie's chicken, so how do you know that's not?
What is it?
It's like Cane's. You ever had Cane's?
Yeah, that's horrible. Disgusting.
Oh God.
It's fried chicken, right?
I mean, you don't like chicken now?
I mean, I love chicken. I don't like fried. I like fried chicken too. I don't like fast food, cheap, gross chicken though.
God. You could never live here with us. You could never live here and be on the lunch crew every day.
Never want to. That's the whole thing.
Canes is the
A,
worst.
it's in Kentucky, and B, you guys eat at the worst places possible.
Yeah,
Arby's.
Penguin said Canes is the worst. Actually, Guthrie's our friend Donato's Bill that's always in chat, Holden, or is in chat that we know. He actually runs and owns I think 3 or 4 Guthrie's, which is very similar to Canes, but we like Guthrie's a little bit more. But yeah, and then he does all the Donato's pizza and stuff like that. So what's up, John? John's used to. I missed the golf shows with all my guys that follow us with the golf shows. So we got to get the golf stuff going back on the new season, John. So hope you're doing good.
I mean, it really is amazing how you just eat that shit. But what am I saying? I just ate a pint of ice cream. So,
well, yeah, I mean, what are some places out there that you and like Mangone and DC would eat?
Well, I can't speak for DC or Mangone. I've only seen Mangone one time since he's lived out here, and I've never seen DC except the one time I was there. But I will say there's one fast food restaurant that I'll eat at, and it's called Shake Shack. It's absolutely delicious.
What's it, just like shakes and ice cream and shit like that?
Shakes and burgers. Yeah.
How do you get by eating so much ice cream? I can't remember the last like shake or McFlurry or like cook. I can't remember the last one I've eaten.
Yeah, you don't eat salad, and I eat too much ice cream.
No, salad's way overrated.
You don't even eat fish, do you?
No. No.
How do you not eat fish?
No.
I mean, honestly, I know the ice cream's going to kill me. I probably have the heart of a 300-year-old.
How many pints of ice cream do you have in your refrigerator or your freezer right now?
Well, none, because I ate it. I'm serious. Don't
get me wrong. Like I said, I know I've talked about it on all these shows. I definitely don't like ice cream or cake or cookies a whole lot. Now, I'll eat cookies here and there. If it's a party, I'll grab a chocolate chip cookie, obviously, but I won't go out of my way to eat ice cream or cake.
That's just so good. So you don't care about
as bad as I eat, right, Holden? As bad as I eat, I don't necessarily love that. So
you don't care about sugar.
Snyder said that pizza place that he was here last year was pretty good. That's the same place we ate yesterday.
I went to a pizza place with Rubio and our old buddy JJ when I was out there. We went to a pizza place. It was like a little house.
All right, that narrows it down.
Was that the place? Is there a pizza place in a house?
You said you think about it, Holden. You said you ate at a pizza place when you were here, and it looked like a little house. Now,
correct.
How in the hell am I supposed to break that down?
How many pizza places aren't most of them in like a strip mall? This was not in a strip mall. Maybe it was an Italian.
There isn't any of them that are in a strip mall. What do you mean?
Do you even have strip malls in Kentucky?
Strip malls or strip places?
Strip mall. Uncle T cracking the jokes tonight, Uncle T.
I mean, I can't remember the last one of them I've been to, but no, I mean, we got them like there's like a Skyline Chili. You guys don't know about Skyline Chili?
No, I know about it. It's not completely overrated bullshit. Grater's ice cream.
Anything?
Grater's ice cream, completely overrated.
There's a Grater's ice cream with the La Rosas and Skyline. They're all together in like a strip mall that you were talking about.
It's a triumvirate of dog shit food. I'd rather eat at Raising Cane's than eat any of that. Actually, I would eat Grater's because it's ice cream, but I would not eat the rest. You don't like
chicken. You don't like ice cream, or you don't like pizza. You don't like pizza.
I like pizza. I just don't eat it as much as you.
I could eat pizza for at least 4 days a week, probably.
If you eat like that, you have to do workout or cardio. Like, do you work out or do cardio?
I don't work out at a gym, but I'm about as active a 50-plus-year-old than you'll have ever. I mean, literally, if I sat on the couch like you, I'd probably weigh I'd be like Big T. I'd weigh like 3 1/4.
Yeah, but I go to the gym at least. What do you do? You walk. What do you do? Seriously, what do you do for exercise?
I mean, I'm in the yard all the time. I cut
You're in the yard all the time.
I golf all the time when I'm not injured.
Golf, zero exercise.
I'm out playing volleyball with my daughter. Yeah, I mean, I'm always on the go. I'm never home.
Volleyball is good, but like you're out in the yard. The yard does not constitute.
I'm just throwing things out there. You said, what do I do to stay active? And I was just telling you.
What do
You don't have
do?
to shit on me.
None of that none of that stuff sounds like exercise, Uncle T.
Yeah.
It all sounds like activities.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
You and Wiley, both your daughters play volleyball. I would love for my daughter to play volleyball.
She just finished. Yeah. We're trying to talk her into playing basketball, but she's like 5'7" probably or so. Almost 5'8" freshman. But
are there short girls on the team? Like, can you be short and play volleyball?
Yeah, I mean, you can be one of the setters or liberos or whatever they call them. She plays. She's on the front line with one of the hitters. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So what else is going on?
Football. Let's just get into the football part of this.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I want to go watch this game tonight, and I got to go cook dinner. I'm making tonight. I'm going to make with my girl. We're going to make some cod, some panko crusted cod.
Your girl? Does she have a name?
Some vegetables. You know
Cassandra.
What That's
Cassandra.
Right. That's right, Cassandra.
That's
right, my friend. But just going back to that Bengals-Texans game, and then Sunday night and then Monday night, it's just unders, man. I don't know how much you've been betting, but these teams just aren't putting up points. And it's not just the island games now. I think there's a few things that are at work, Uncle T. I think, first of all, when everyone started going to the two high safeties against Mahomes and Tyreek, they were onto something. And now some of these explosive pass offenses are not as explosive anymore. You could say that, there's a lot of stunts and they're hiding, disguising coverages. That's fine. I think the other thing to me, though, is the shitty quarterback play. Just go look at some of these guys. Let's go look at the quarterbacks on the slate here. I'm going to go open that up because we've had Aiden O'Connell starting primetime games, Zach Wilson starting primetime games. It's bad, man. The quarterback play in the NFL today is just horrible. And they really, and I get it, Mahomes is amazing. Hurts is coming on. Some of these guys are coming on, but I think we already lived through the golden era of the National Football League with Brady and Manning. I truly believe that. I don't. Now, some point in time, the scoring is going to have to come back because everything goes in cycles, but these are just lower scoring games these days, Uncle T. It's as simple as that. And I'm going to go through the list here. We got Sam Howell, Geno Smith, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Will Levis, Bryce Young. If Fields doesn't come back, Badgett, Danny DeVito, there's some bad quarterbacks out there, buddy. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Some of the guys they're rolling out, and they just keep rolling them out every single week. Who's the worst of the bunch? Is it Zach Wilson? Is it Mac Jones, who's now probably going to get benched for Zappy? Is it Aiden O'Connell? Well, it's Danny DeVito, number one, but who's the second worst?
It's hard to say. Well, to get back to your original question, though, Holden, obviously it's a few things that have led to it. One is, obviously the injuries, right? For sure. You can't, and that does hurt because, we just talked about some of these at the end of like quarterbacks, say 20, maybe 5 on back, or maybe even 22 on by the last, say the bottom 10 quarterbacks in the league to start the season. Let's put it like that. We know those guys weren't very good anyway, right? They're towards the back end for a reason, whether they're on a bad team or, a poorly offense team, whatever you want to call it. Then you add in the injuries, and a lot of those injuries have been on teams that didn't have a good quarterback to begin with. Mac Jones, you got Danny Dimes, who I still don't care for. You mentioned, well, Jordan Love, you got Stafford. Stafford might be back this week, but you got a replacement there. And then so you can go all the way down the list. I won't name them all, but I think that's part of it, though. You got injuries, and then when them injuries come in, you got, again, DeVito and this Badgett guy. I mean, it's just brutal. Now, you might get Fields and possibly Stafford back this week, or probably Stafford may have a better chance to play this week than Fields, but you get a couple maybe back. But that's why I think if you've got an elite guy at quarterback, Hurts, Mahomes, Lamar, Burrow, Herbert, you're just way above the field as long as you can keep them healthy, because you're always going to have a chance when you have one of these 4, 5, 6 studs that's currently in the league. So I'm
going to preface this by saying I did not know the answer till I just opened this up. Who leads the NFL in passing yards this year?
Passing yards? Passing yards.
Take a guess. Throw someone out there.
It's probably you're probably making me think it's somebody like C.J. Stroud.
Close. He's second. It's Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Sam Howell.
It kind of makes sense a little bit just because if you look at most of their games, for the most part, outside of that game early in the year where I can't remember who they played pretty well, did they go into Chicago on that one primetime game and beat them pretty good? I think they played for the most part a fairly good trailing script most of the year, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that definitely was surprising. But C.J. Stroud, we talked about it off air before we came on. Again, the dude is definitely going to be good. Now he's going to have some growing pains along the way. I do think having Hubbard out of that game really hurt Cincinnati's pass rush, and Houston outplayed Cincinnati from start to finish in that game. So. But yeah, Stroud's a beast. You got, Murray came back last week, and that was, he wasn't great. He was good, but not great. But I think him being back on the field, at least for Arizona, clearly they're not any good this year, but they do have a better chance probably with him in there. And then Brock Purdy, he's a guy I want to talk about a lot this week, holding 5,800 against that Tampa Bay defense, that saw Stroud a couple weeks ago just torch it. Purdy at 5,800, you got to feel like he's going to be, garner some attention at that price tag this week in a, in a pretty good game script there. 41.5 total isn't a very, very high total. So, but I think as long as, actually, I like that over. That feels like that's in San Francisco. So that feels like that's a low total even for as good as San Francisco's defense is. So I don't know.
Mahomes, Hurts, Tua. And I'm starting to wonder if we can at least talk about Stroud for MVP. Just 15-2 touchdown interception ratio, number 2 in passing yards. He's taken a team that really has been bad for a while. I think DeMeco Ryans is the coach of the year. I've thought that for a couple of weeks now, but I think that Stroud legitimately threw himself in the MVP race last week. I do. To go to Cincinnati and do what he did, and then the week before put up 470 and 5 touchdowns. I don't know if he's going to carry this out.
I don't know.
I think so.
It's a valid question, Holden. I definitely like the question for sure. I want to wait a couple more weeks. We're in week 11. Obviously, he's played real well. He's clearly been the better player between him and
Young.
Bryce Young. I mean, that's obviously, I think people keep making fun of Carolina for obviously, at least as of right now, it's a clear look like they messed up in who they took there. But I don't know. Hold on. I want to wait a couple more weeks. They're not even in first place in their own division, right? So, they're on the come. They got a good, I love this team, actually. Like you said, they came in and dominated my Bengals, and I thought it would be a good game. I thought Houston would have a chance to come in here and win, but I was definitely shocked that they were able to move the ball up and down the field. And Noah Brown, I mean, he got loose in the middle of the field 3 different times for 25, 30, 35-yard receptions. And, sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the better team. But and then this week, Holden, we got we talked about it the last 2-3 weeks, but the NFL on these primetime games, we've had some really good ones the last couple of weeks. We've got Mahomes and Hurts on Monday night, and then we got Burrow and Lamar this Thursday. So you got 4 of the top quarterbacks won't even be on the main 11-game slate on Sunday. So I think that's a little bit interesting.
Is Thanksgiving your favorite holiday? What's your favorite holiday? It's my favorite holiday.
But what's
my favorite? It's my favorite holiday. Just because you get the family and the food and the football. Although, since I have had the kids, I haven't watched, I don't get to sit down and just watch every single game all day anymore. Now it's like fits and starts and stuff like that. But it's still my favorite holiday.
Yeah, I like Thanksgiving. It's Christmas is fine too. You want to get on Big T? I'll give you something to get on Big T on. He don't like Christmas, I don't think.
Really?
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Big T likes getting. I don't think he likes. No, I don't think he likes getting gifts, and he don't like giving gifts.
Yeah. So
nothing wrong. He just So
it's not a big day in my household.
Who put unranked tournament player at RPS on my thing? I just saw that.
You didn't do that? No. I honest to God didn't do that. You didn't do that?
You lie.
Tony must have done it. I swear I had to take Muff Diver off of my thing when we came in here.
So that Cassandra didn't see it?
No, she already saw it. I already texted her. She thought it was hilarious. She's
you texted her in the other room and told her?
Yeah, I just sent a screenshot. She's like, "You're right." No, that had to have been. So Tony actually went into our room. You didn't notice that you were the
I had
unranked?
no idea that was even in there. Last time I had Uncle T in there.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because
I'm just no. I can't play the bit. There's only two of us. I did that.
Yeah, of course you did.
You were already messaging Big T.
No, I wasn't. I didn't have my phone on, dude. Let's get into this slate, okay? Because you and me got some college basketball to watch. Next week, I'm not going to be here. And then we'll come back after the week of Thanksgiving and we'll finish strong. Weeks 13 through 18. So here's what we got at quarterback this week. Jets at Buffalo with a new offensive coordinator. As bad as Josh Allen's been in real life, he's been a stud in fantasy. He's 8,200 on DK. We've got Tua and the Dolphins coming off the bye at 7,700 against the Raiders at home. I can't imagine that is going to be a low-owned Tua. Herbert at Green Bay, Dak Prescott at Carolina. Our boy CJ Stroud gets Arizona at home this week. I mean, Arizona offense looked a lot better with Connor and Murray back in there. We might have Justin Fields back. He goes to Detroit. Let me start with there. If Justin Fields is playing, what are the chances you roll with him coming off a pair of 30-plus point games before the injury?
Yeah, I mean, the reports I've seen on Fields has been that he's been getting better. Last week, I thought they came out and said that he was kind of healthy, but didn't suit up. I don't know what that meant, if they were just giving him another week or not. So I do feel like he probably does play this week. I don't know, Holden, 6,900. I agree with you. A good matchup here. We've talked about Detroit from an offensive standpoint on all these shows pretty much all year. I think we like their players. We like their coach, right? They score all these points. Last week, they went up and down the field, did Goff and company against Herbert. You know, that game went nuclear. I was a little shocked that their defense gave up that many points. What I'm getting at with that is, though, I don't know if Chicago, and especially if Fields doesn't play, I'm kind of looking at that game as being, you know, what's it, probably a 10, 11-point spread? Yeah, 10-point spread, 47 total right now. I just think Detroit might just win that game, maybe 35-13, something like that, you know, in that range, 31-14. Detroit's really good. That one blemish they had against Baltimore, where Baltimore just dominated them from start to finish. Other than that one game, Detroit's been arguably a top 3 or 4 team in the entire league this year. So I'll probably stay away from Fields, to be honest with you. Up top, we do have Holden, Tua coming off the bye, and a pretty good matchup, right, down in Miami against Las Vegas, 7,700. Feels like it's a decent tag there. So I got some interest there. CJ Stroud, we talked about him. Everybody's been talking about him. $7K now, though. He is up to a little bit higher price tag, but a pretty good matchup there. You know, I just mentioned the Detroit game with Chicago, Jared Goff. I don't mind him, but Purdy is the guy I'm looking at. I mentioned it earlier. Purdy, 5,800 against Tampa Bay. I just really like this. You got Deebo Samuel back. You know, he had a decent game last week. Ayuk caught the touchdown early, but I think both of them had decent games. Kittle, I think, caught a touchdown. I think this team, Holden, when they've got those guys healthy, Ayuk, Samuel, Kittle, and now you got Young that they picked up to add to an already pretty good defense. I do think, even though they had a little 3-game losing streak in there, I still think that San Francisco is one of the 2 or 3 best teams easily in the league. And I think they could just start rolling people. So
I bet them to win it all last week, Uncle T.
What's that?
I bet them to win it all last week.
Oh,
they got Trent Williams back. They got Debo in there. Their defense is fine. They're a great team.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, like I said, I'm not breaking any news when I'm saying that, but they did lose 3 in a row, and people were kind of like, well, maybe they aren't as good as they, you know, were advertised. I still think they're good. But I like Philadelphia too. See, I'm not the Dallas guy. I think Dallas is a fraud, where other people think Dallas is good. But let me finish up quarterbacks real quick. I have a couple more, actually just one down below that, again, we're on Tuesday night, like we always say. Just a quick first glance. And this is going to sound kind of bad, but Love here at 5,600 at home. And I know Green Bay's offense is brutal. They're one of the worst, but he has been decent the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's put up mid-teens points. And then the Chargers defense just got shredded at home and has been giving up a lot of points. So I don't think I'm going to go there. There's too many good plays that we just talked about that I think will be in that mid 6K range and above that I like. But, Love wouldn't be the worst play. And Levis, I can't go back to Levis at 5,200 against Jacksonville. He was on a couple of my teams last week. I think I was over the field on Levis, and he just laid an egg after that big game. So it's probably where I'm going this week.
Kyler Murray came back and looked pretty good, had 33 yards rushing and a touchdown. And I think now that you get a week under his belt and they get that Houston pass D, I think Kyler Murray's got to be in the mix. And when we get to tight end, McBride has got to be somebody that we talk about. But I think him and then Sam Howell. Again, Sam Howell just every week has a chance to put up 25 points. He doesn't run a ton, 15, 20 yards, but he's just throwing a ton, man. And it's kind of tough to pair him up because it was Brian Robinson Jr. last week. Maybe one year it'll be Dotson. Next week will be McLaurin. But those two guys are in the same range, 6,300,
it feels
6,100.
Like Holden, for having those 4 stud quarterbacks on the primetime games that we talked about a little bit ago, there feels like there is a lot of good quarterbacks that are in decent spots here and good matchups, good price tags, whatever it may be. So, yeah, I think a lot of good quarterbacks here will be in play on Sunday.
For fantasy. Not in real life, but for fantasy.
No. We're always
a lot of these guys. Yeah. A lot of these dudes, they're okay. They're okay. So that's a quarterback.
I don't think I've mentioned Jordan Love all year. And I don't think I'm playing him this week either, but things do match up. If you wanted to play Jordan Love, again, I would just find the extra money and go up. But again, if you look at his last 4 games, they've been a lot better. 6 touchdown passes in the last 4 games doesn't, look great, but 18, 13, 15, 16. He's been more consistent, if you will, than he was. The problem is the offense and the team just sucks. I think Green Bay is one of the worst 5 teams in the league. They're terrible.
They're bad. CMC at running back, always in play. What was 16 or 17 straight games with a touchdown? That's over. You need more than 20 points at him, but he got 20 points last week without a touchdown. Eckler just keeps finding the end zone every single week. It's remarkable, and he's still getting peppered in the passing game. So he's going to be there. That's up top. Gibbs and Montgomery seem to be in a timeshare, but both are so explosive, and they get Chicago this week. No one's going to play both of them, and people will probably laugh at me for even mentioning it, but I will. Achane could be back this week at 6,600. He'll be the chalk if he's playing at home against Miami at 6,600 with a guy that's put up 50 points already this year. I want to look at Derrick Henry. Yeah, Derrick Henry had a very quiet day against Tampa Bay. So that's kind of the top shelf. James Conner's always going to be in the mix for me, Uncle T. I know last week wasn't great, didn't put up big numbers, but I'm there. Jaylen Warren finally got a start, and he put up 22 DK points. So he's starting to come on, and I think it'll probably be a 55-45 timeshare with him ahead of Najee Harris now. Just my opinion on that. And then something that I'm not going to play Rico Dowdle this week, but at what point in time does McCarthy look at his backfield and say Dowdle is the more explosive player? I don't know when that is. I don't know if it's going to happen because they're not paying him like they are Tony Pollard. But I'll say this, if there's a guy that looks better than another guy in the backfield, Dowdle looks better than Pollard right now, Uncle T.
Well, isn't that interesting, Holden? On this show and many others all last year, right? What was one of the things we kept saying? How is he not the man, and why are they giving the ball to Zeke so much, right? Yeah. Obviously, it was because they were paying him, and then we kept saying that about Pollard. He's much more explosive. Why can't they see it? Now you just make a point of, Pollard from a fantasy standpoint has to be one of the 3, least, effective guy in fantasy as far as projection at the beginning of the year by far. It's not even close. So I don't know what they're going to do there, but I do think the interesting thing here is we get the season going, or, the season goes on. You got Montgomery back in there, like you said. So you got him and Gibbs. You got Mostert and Achane, if Achane comes back. You've got all these double running back guys. You got the 2 Pittsburgh guys that you mentioned. It's going to be interesting to see how people are going to be able to utilize them from a fantasy perspective, right? I mean, this week Gibbs is 7K and Montgomery's 6,500. Last week I think they were right about equal or whatever, but depending on the matchup, you can play both of them. And this week, I think an interesting thing would be if you wanted to totally get away from the Chicago-Detroit passing game from the Detroit side. I mean, Gibbs and Montgomery could get all the work, right, and could get all the fantasy production. You just don't know. But let me start up the top so we can kind of get through this. But CMC last week, I think I put even though he had 20 points, like you mentioned, didn't get in the end zone. They scored, what, 35 points or whatever it was. He came out and said everybody scored but him, obviously in a kidding way. But 9,300 for him. I played him like 60% of my teams, and I was disappointed with 20 because I hadn't been playing him, and he puts up 30, 35 points, and it always upsets me. But so I think I jinxed him a little bit by not getting in the end zone. But anyway, Austin Eckler, I think this could be a really good spot for Eckler going against Green Bay. We saw what the two running backs for Pittsburgh did last week. They both almost got 100 yards. I think Warren did get 100, and I think Najee was maybe around 80 or 90. So I do like Eckler here quite a bit. And again, similar to the Detroit-Chicago thing, Holden, you can get a little bit different here. Allen's a little banged up, even though he's coming off that monster game last week against Detroit. Maybe go to the Eckler side. Maybe Eckler has the 2 or 3 touchdowns this week in a game where, that totals 44. I think there's going to be some points scored in that game. And believe it or not, I do think, like I said, I do think Green Bay scores a little bit in that game as well. So I do like Eckler going down a little bit, like over 7K. I've got a little bit interest in Saquon Barkley. 7,100 feels like a pretty cheap price tag from what he was at a couple weeks ago. Feels like you're getting a pretty good discount here on Barkley, and clearly a trailing game script. So he could catch, 5 to 7, 6 to 8 balls maybe coming out of the backfield, maybe in a trailing game script against Washington, division game. So I kind of like Barkley there. And then going down in the mid 6Ks, you can go back to Bryce Young if you want. He kind of let me down a little bit in that primetime game this week. 6,400 feels like a cheap, kind of not cheap, but a fair price tag going into Buffalo. Rachaad White, you talked about him on the Up the Lock show, I think on Sunday. He was just too cheap at 5,800, right? I think I was way over the field on White, and he just keeps producing. And if it's been a winning script, he's been fine. And when it's been in a trailing script, like the game against Houston a couple weeks back, he's crushing, right? So he feels like, as crazy as it sounds at 6K, he's kind of matchup proof right now. Because he's getting all the work. So I don't mind him still at 6K. And then I'll mention one guy down that I didn't have this week that I probably should have against my Bengals, but Singletary did look pretty good against Cincinnati. 5,300. I got a little interest there.
If Pierce is back, I definitely have no interest. I just have a hard time clicking his name. I think the cheapest guy I'm looking at right now is Jaylen Warren. He's just really good. He's more explosive than Najee. He's faster than Najee. He can catch passes. He's just a terrific talent, and he doesn't have a lot of carries or catches under his belt. So I think at 5,100 early in the week right now,
I like that.
That's a guy that I'm kind of interested in if I need to open up some salary. Yeah. He's just terrific. He really is. But if we're looking at a game, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, that Cleveland defense is a really tough one.
They do have a good run defense. Yeah, I might back off that a little bit now that I look at it. Yeah,
if I stay away, it's only going to be because of the matchup. I love the player. Absolutely love the player. RPS 15% off your subscription. What up, chat? You guys want to throw anything up here? Yeah, that's right. Penguin Thanksgiving does rule. Heard someone say Najee looks like he's running in jeans. Richie Smalls. I don't know. He actually has broken a ton of tackles, and I think he might have the most carries of 15 plus yards this year, if I'm not mistaken. So,
and you know what, like games like last week, Holden, where they're playing, a bad run defense, that's absolutely the type of game where Mike Tomlin likes, right? He just loves grind out games. He loves running the ball. And what they get 30 carries, I think it was between the two. Those are games Tomlin loves. It's the games where they get behind 14-3 or 20-6 or whatever it is where they got to throw the ball, obviously, is where Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is a complete fraud. I might be completely wrong. They're 6-3 or whatever it is. Bengals, I know, play them twice coming up still. I'd be shocked if the Bengals let Pittsburgh beat them, but I'm not a believer. I am a believer in Cleveland and Baltimore, though. I'm hoping the Bengals, Cleveland, and the Ravens get into the playoffs. I don't think Pittsburgh will, but I may be proven wrong.
All right, I just want to play Tyreek Lamb and ASP St. Brown this week. So Wide receiver is going to be pretty easy, but in all seriousness, this wide receivers are they're crushing. Tyreek's back on the slate at 9,300. CeeDee Lamb has been as productive as anyone over these last 3 weeks. Remember, he came out and he said, I want the ball, and he caught 7 for 7 targets. And then when the next game they had, he came out and he said, let's give me the ball and see what happens. Well, I think we're seeing what happens. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. Diggs is at 9,100, coming off a very tough game against Surtain. Now he gets the Jets. I'm not worried about him, though. St. Brown is there. Whew, the top shelf looks really, really good. But if you drop down a tier to 7,200 and Brandon Ayuk, I don't know. I don't know who I'm pairing up with Brock Purdy if I'm going with your boy, Brock Purdy. Is it Ayuk? Is it Debo? Is it Kittle? Is it McCaffrey? How do you stack Purdy?
Yeah, I mean, that with all of them healthy and back, it's definitely going to be tricky for them the rest of the way. There's no doubt about it, because they're when they're healthy, they're loaded. They've got options for sure. So last week I wasn't on Kittle. I think Kittle caught a long touchdown, didn't he? If I'm not mistaken, pretty sure he did. 116 yards. He had the long touchdown, but I don't know what I'll do there, Holden, but unless we find some, we don't know what kind of injuries are going to come up, what kind of value is going to come up between now and Sunday. But I do like a couple of those high running backs, and normally I like to pay down at running back, or at least in that low 6K, high 5K range, to where I can jam in a couple of these top wide receiver plays. And Tyreek Hill coming off the bye, 9,300 against Vegas. Again, I'm not going to sit here for 10 minutes and talk about all these guys because they're such good plays. Lamb is, like you said, has been going nuclear. Yeah. St. Brown. I think Cooper Kupp's interesting, because if Stafford's back, $8,100 for Cooper Kupp against Seattle. Let me look at that. What's that total? Holden, do you have it offhand? 46. That's one of the late 3 games on the slate on Sunday. If Stafford's back, I think I kind of like Cooper Kupp. I know he's been bad. The team's been bad, but 8,100 feels pretty cheap there. The guy you mentioned, Ayuk, in the low 7K range, I do like Ayuk, but how about $200 more? And Evans has been Mike Evans has been absolutely crushing. I mean, it seems like every week he's in that low 7K range, and he just never moves no matter what he does. Put up 29 points last week, and I think he's pretty safe. I don't mind him. Garrett Wilson, 6,400. He's the only guy that Zach Wilson feels comfortable throwing to. I know Conklin got a couple extra catches on Monday night there in that game, or Sunday night, whenever that was. But I still think Garrett Wilson, 6,400 is pretty cheap. Amari Cooper in that game against Pittsburgh. I like Amari in that game. I like Cleveland in that game, actually. But what's up, Stevers?
Love Stevers.
Yeah, Stevers. I don't get to see Stevers now that baseball season's over as much, but good dude there, does a good job on the baseball side. And then going down a little bit, Holden, Chris Kirk still at an even 6K against Tennessee. I don't mind that. The one interesting thing the last couple of weeks it's been kind of a shock to me is, Kirk obviously been back, but Ridley has been absolutely non-existent the last, several weeks. I'm not sure what's going on there, because I was pretty high on Ridley beginning of the year, like a lot of people were, and he just hasn't panned out. But don't mind him. And then again, I do think, Holden, that there's going to be some points in that Green Bay Chargers game. And Romeo Dobbs, 5,200. I can't remember playing him maybe once this year, but I know. But if you look at his numbers,
he scores touchdowns,
5,200. Yeah, and everybody wants to play Watson, and Watson hasn't done nothing.
Sucks.
But Dobbs is averaging, he gets in there for 12, 6, 12, 11. Again, he doesn't have much upside, but in a game that I do think there's going to be points in that he could be trailing, 5,200 feels kind of cheap. And Noah Brown finally got the little bit of the price bump, 4,800 against Arizona. I don't mind that. But one guy I didn't mention in that, again, Ayuk is fine. I think I'd rather prefer or probably prefers Debo Samuel. I played him a little bit Sunday. He was fine coming back. But I think after a week kind of getting back in there, I like him here in week 2 on the comeback. I like Samuel, 6,300. And then Jaden Reed, 4K, another cheap run back for Green Bay in that game script there in Green Bay. Only $4,000 against the Chargers. So I like that a little bit.
Yeah, Noah Brown has gone. His price has gone. Let's see here. 2 weeks ago, 3,100. Then he put up a 30 spot. Last week, 3,700. He put up 27. This week, he's still only 4,800. So he should be pretty popular. And I think Stroud is going to be a popular option this week. At least he should be with Dell and him, and then Schultz too. He's got 3 legitimate options he can go. And Mechie's starting to get worked in a little bit. JSN had a nice week for his price, 9 points. I think it was 4,100. There's another cheap guy we can look at. But I think Noah Brown's probably the one guy that's really going to stand out right now. And he should be. He should be popular at 4,800. I know there's no reason not to like him. Tight end, my friend. Let's go to tight end.
Yeah, real quick, Richie. Yeah, real quick. Richie Small said, yeah, this is when Watson went on that run last year from Green Bay. Yeah, Richie, I do remember that. He crushed the last 3-4 weeks of the year. I just think it's a different time, different team, different atmosphere up there. Yeah, he could have a game where he gets 1 or 2, but I'm kind of off the Watson train altogether. So
I think there's some pretty good tight end plays. If you wanted to pay up for Kittle or Laporta, I wouldn't blame you. Schultz goes from 4,900 to 5K. Dalton Schultz. Kincaid. Here's another Dalton. Kincaid is just on. Well, let's see here. Doubled to 15 or more DK points in 4 straight weeks. So it's obvious that he's just a better version of Dawson Knox in the passing game. Ferguson gets a whole bunch of targets in the end zone. I wasn't sure if Kyler was going to look Trey McBride's way. McBride blew up once again. So those are the guys that we're looking at kind of in the upper to mid tier. I don't think anybody's going to break the bank unless you pay all the way up. My question for you is, like, who's down low that we can pay for? Maybe a Tyler Conklin who seems to have a floor lately. Yeah.
I do have Conklin. Yeah. 2,900. I got him that I was going to save for my cheap guy for sure. But the one thing I wanted to mention about tight ends this week, Holden, was if you look at all the positions for the most part, and I'm not sure if this happens every year or not, but it seems like a lot of these tight ends, Laporta, Schultz, Kincaid to a certain extent, McBride for sure. Some of these guys, if you look at where they were priced just 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago and where they're at now they've deserved the price bump. But what I mean is, like, we were getting McBride at 2,500 just 3 weeks ago, or that game against the Bengals. I can't remember when that was. I think he was 2,700. And even Dalton Kincaid at the beginning of the year was 34, then 35, 37. We saw Hawkinson just completely go off nuclear. Obviously, he was one that wasn't cheap at the beginning of the year. But my point being, we've got some good tight end choices. But what comes with that is you're not going to get as many cheap punts that we like to put in. So if you're playing some of these guys, and we don't have Kelsey, we don't have Andrews on this slate. So Kittle at 6,400, again, you got to kind of figure out how you're going to want to stack Purdy this week, because you still got CMC there, and he can clearly, kind of get 2-3 touchdowns, and then that kind of throws off your Purdy stacks, if you will, if he gets 2 or 3. So we're going to have to look into that between now and Sunday. Laporta last week I was on a little bit. I was on St. Brown as well, but not as much as or I was on Laporta, not as much as St. Brown. Laporta was 4 for 40, so he had a little bit of a down game in that high scoring affair. Man, Dalton Schultz is up to 5K, but he's just been crushing in really good matchups the last couple of weeks. He's got a little bit tougher matchup this week against Arizona. They feel like they do a little bit better job against the tight end. So I don't know if I'll go back to Dalton Schultz, but you mentioned McBride against Houston. God, 4,400 feels like a lot. If you don't want to play maybe the running games in that Detroit-Chicago script, you still got Cole Kmet, 4,100 is a fair price tag there for Kmet, kind of a safety blanket there if it's Badgett still starting. And even if he's not, Fields obviously has a connection with Kmet. I'd probably like Kmet a little bit better if Fields was in than if he's not. And then the one cheap guy that you mentioned, Holden, Tyler Conklin, he's been pretty good the last couple of weeks, 11 points, 12 points, 2,900. You could definitely do a lot worse. And then I do want to mention, and Richie Smalls brought it up, but any Mayer run back with the Tyreek. Yeah, Michael Mayer, he's a local guy here, played high school football and basketball here about 10 minutes from my house. So he's a local product that I like to follow. So, Michael Mayer is a good player. I think he'll be better next year. He'll get better as his season or as his career progresses. And the thing that's going to hold him back is he's got Aiden O'Connell throwing to him right now. So if he was on the Bengals or Ravens or, Chiefs, he would be a complete stud, I think, because the kid can play. But yeah, that's all I got. Conklin and Mara would be my two Chiefies.
All right, let's get out of here. Screw the defense. Shout out to my dad who is not listening right now. That's it. His cancer treatments are done, so we got to ring the bell today. Big fan of my pop. Taking care of business there. RPS 15% off your first payment. Hit the like button on the way out. Uncle T, anything else you want to say, buddy?
No, good job, Holden. Appreciate you. Enjoy this show every week. And even though Duke is not playing Kentucky, or Kentucky's not playing Duke this week, I do have my I still hate Leitner shirt on because I still hate Christian Leitner. So, but anyway, good luck this week, Holden, in your contest, and I'll see you next week, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Take care. For Uncle T, I'm Holden. Screw you, JT.